Hey everybody, about a month ago I posted a shelf video, something like this. And 2 weeks ago I made a video where I made these little houses, kind of like, so I made about 5 different designs of book stands like this. None of them were this tall. And I got some good news. People are buying stuff. The bad news, it's getting out of hand. There's about 7 to 8 inquiries a day of different custom projects for me to make, which is good. It's good, but they won't stop. They just kind of keep coming. Yeah, so today we're looking at 2 variations of that, and based on that, one customer wants this, but 36 inches long. So long. So that's one thing we're going to be doing today. 2 36-inch pieces off this. One of these will be the actual ledge, and the other one will be part of the back. And then I'm going to use this 1x8. And this will be part of the back as well. I'm going to use this half because it's straighter. So first measurements. 36 inches, just like that. Okay, so we got our 3 pieces of the long shelf cut. I'll be pocket holing one of the 5.5-inch pieces and one of the 7.5-inch pieces together, and that'll create the back. But first, we're going to be looking at the second project, which is the longhouse. This house right here, this exact thing is what we're building. Of course, I've already built it, but that's what we're building. First I'll cut 2 22-inch pieces and then a 9-inch piece. And then I use my 1x8s to cut 2 12-inch pieces. I'll have to trim those down on the table saw to make the roof later on. Now, back to the shelf. First, we clean off the saw. And I trim the very edge of the 2 backboards, and wow, did this create a perfect seam. I'm pretty ready to throw my jointer away. This was perfect. Like, you guys perfect. More. There we go. What? It's perfect. This part isn't, but oh my God. And as per usual, I forget to record something. Drilling pocket holes, some glue, and screwing the pocket holes together. Something everybody's seen somebody do, I'm sure. Now it's sort of my signature style to round over my edges. So using my template, I get my rounded edges marked out, the jigsaw will bring my edge close, and then over to the flush trim bit on the router. Clean it all up. No, my router bit is not from Bits and Bits. I'm poor, and I can't feed my children bits and bits quality router bits. It's just, I definitely can't afford that. Board was a bit unruly to control, but it's no match for me and my non-existent standards of quality. I gave the edges a quick sanding to prep for paint. I know you expected stain. I always use stain, but we're going to go back to that nice green paint from a few videos back. But first, I don't want to scratch up the paint, so I'm going to do the keyholes on the back now. Using some scrap blocks, I make a guide and I plunge it in to make my holes, and then I apply my paint. Okay, so I mark out the lines on the back about 4 inches up, and then I use the shelf and I mark another line so I can center all my pre-drilled holes for my pocket hole screws. Now I like pocket hole screws for pretty well any screwing I need to do, even your mom. They seem to pull the wood together much nicer. Onto the other side, I measure my 4-inch space, place the shelf, and clamp it down. I then check it for square. It wasn't perfect, so I stopped checking, because if you don't worry about it being square, it's always going to be square. Now, since I'm broke, I only had 3 1¼ inch pocket hole screws left. So, and the rest were these weird 1-inch ones with the big head. Yeah, so I spread out the 1¼ inch screws so that I could pull the boards in really nice with a screw I trust, and then screw in the rest with the other ones. Okay, so I'm done with the shelf, and we're on to the tall house again. I started by cutting my roof pieces down to 5½ inches and 4¾ inches, much like we did in the previous video. And then I can butt them together and get a 45, because I still haven't moved the stop on my table saw to actually get it to go to 45. And then I go over to my classic roundover on my roof. So yeah, I made the roof first, just some glue, 4 brad nails, and I made sure everything lined up pretty nice. The nails went mega deep, like here, and one popped out the other side, so I grabbed my 3/8 pin from my Jessam dowel jig set, very quality tools, and I used it to knock the nail beneath the surface. Then I needed 45s for the walls. So I measured halfway, which is 2¾ inch, since my boards are 5½ inches wide. There be ghosts out there. Checking both sides to make sure that my line was centered, and then I cut a 45 on the tip of that line, flipped it over, cut at the peak of that line, and repeated it for the other board. A bit of glue, some more brad nails, and some more brad nails going out of where I want them to be. So I use the claw bitey thing to pull out the nail. And then I made some wood filler using a coffee grinder and some sawdust from behind the miter saw. Now, obviously, there is a reason why I do not hook up the dust collection to my miter saw. It's so that I have a vast supply of dust behind my miter saw for whenever I need to make glue paste. Or maybe I'm just too lazy to turn it on. And then I added some Titebond 3. It doesn't have to be Titebond 3, but I only use Titebond 3 because I don't see the point of not using Titebond 3. If you can use a glue that does all the same things as the other glue, but it's also waterproof, why not use it for everything? It just makes sense. And then I sanded it all clean, and it's time for finish. I took a risk. I didn't get a deposit on that. This is kind of a risk-taking episode. No deposit. So I've made this shelf, and now the client, customer, doesn't want to pay money for it. Instead, they're trying to exchange favors. This is a female client, and well, as a married person, I don't know if I should accept favors of this sort for products, because, well, one, it's not money. I'd rather money, but I think I'm going to accept because it's a pretty good offer, pretty good favor. The green shelf for my wife to go above the baking island in its kind of natural home, and the risk-taken project where they might buy it, they might not. If you enjoyed this video, awesome. Thank you for tuning in for this little build project. Just getting back into the swing of things, and I gotta clean this place up. This place is a disaster. Yeah. See you guys around. It's got some fun things coming up. Fun things.